This is how I built an entire at-home DIY library, and it's so much easier than you think it is. So this is my very badly done sketch, and I bought some IKEA Billy bookshelves. I got the corner unit with the extenders, and I actually hired a tasker from TaskRabbit, aka a handyman, to come build these for me because I had so much work to do this week, and this saved me literally a half a day to do this project. And he built those into these. So once they were built, this was the original starting space, and I was like, okay, let's crack on with this DIY. So I headed to the lumber yard and I got the trim that originally matched the pre-existing trim at my house. And then I got some external trim to go up above, and then some smaller trim to fill in all these gaps up here and down below and on the sides, because I wanted to make this look custom and built in. So I got some dry decks. This stuff's actually really cool. It comes in this like fluorescent pink color, but it turns white when it's fully dry. That way you know when it's ready to sand down and cover in all the holes on these bookcases. And this is probably one of my favorite products just because it's so simple, it's affordable, and as you can see, boom, it looks like it's dry. Then I headed outside and I got out my favorite workbench. You've probably seen me use this multiple times. It's actually a workbench and a dolly in one, so you can move furniture and then spread it out to work on top. It's super cool. And I went inside and I measured the bottom of these bookshelves. And see that existing trim? I wanted to cut some trim that fit perfectly right into it so it looked built in. So I learned this trick on YouTube. You actually cut a trim at a 45-degree angle, and then you're gonna clamp it down and get out a junior hacksaw. This is actually a little bit of a bigger blade than I would use, but I didn't have a smaller one. And you're literally just going to saw out the wood that's sticking out. You can also do this with like a Dremel or something else. And just like that, it fits perfectly back into place. And that little gap there, that already came with the bookshelves when they were built, so I'll just fill that in with some caulk. Then I went around and I framed the entire bottom of the piece, and I did the exact thing to the top. And I'm only 5'2", and this actually killed my arms by holding this up and with the nail gun, but I managed to do it and it looked like this. Now there will be a little gap when you frame this in, so I got 1/4 inch quarter rounds. I didn't even know they made them this small. And that gap between the trim and the bottom of the bookshelf, this covered that gap, I swear to you, so perfectly. It was like it was actually made for this. And I also did it on the gaps where the bookshelves met each other. Then I went around to caulking, and I caulked every gap. And if you already don't do this trick, I highly recommend it. It's always to wipe back with a baby wipe, and it makes your caulking look seamless. And this is what I was done with. Then I looked at it and I was like, it looks kind of plain, so I want to add some more trim on the top, and I added tons of these individual half-wood rounds. Then actually, I wanted to show you, in order to cut the trim, you need to cut them over a 45-degree angle, and this is the little protractor tool that I use, so you just hold it out, and that is the angle you will cut it at. So that's a little helpful tip. Next, I had these arches out of plywood that I actually were cut-offs from a desk that I made, and you probably already saw that video, but I've had these laying around for like 2 months. So I used these and I ironed on some veneer to hide the actual plywood look itself. And I popped those on both the corners and I nailed them in, and this gave the perfect kind of custom build to it, and I was loving it so far. And then I added on the shelves to the spacing that I thought I liked, and then I moved on to painting. So the first thing, because this is IKEA and it's made with melamine, you have to use an adhesion primer. And I always use Bonding Boss. This is from Dixiebelle, and this allows the paint to stick to your piece and not chip off. Next, I wanted to go big and bold. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna paint this in red. And I spent all night painting the whole thing, and halfway through I was like, nah, like this is just not the color for this space. I did give it a go, but then I tended to make a whole custom color by mixing some browns, some reds, and some blues together, and I got this beautiful dark, it's like a charcoal brown with like a reddish undertone. I don't know, but it just looks amazing, and I loved this color, and it went really, really well with the floors. And when I was finished and it was all dry, I actually screwed on these above head magnetic lights. And these were so cool. I found them on Amazon. And then my boyfriend and I went through tons of books that I actually thrifted. And here is the final result. This bookshelf is so beautiful, and I don't want you to be intimidated thinking that you can't do this, because you so can build this. I hope this tutorial helps. Enjoy.